I'm very happy to announce that today we received version 2 of the microscope. We have been out for the past month and we have been working on version 2 for the past 2 months. I did announce it in a couple of videos that we are working on version 2 and we should have it soon. We got a large batch today and we're gonna go over it, we're gonna reassemble it, and we're gonna inspect the image quality and see what that microscope is all about. One thing I can tell you is we are using a much bigger sensor on version 2 compared to version 1. I always thought that this version 1 of the microscope is the best microscope around, or one of the best microscopes around. You can compare the quality of our videos with other content creators and just see the difference. I personally believe that this camera is one of the best in the market, but it has just gotten better with version 2 because we are using a bigger sensor. Bigger sensor means better image quality. I do not know how we're going to be able to get better image quality than what we already have, because this is already an amazing quality, but we're going to see. Bigger sensor means a great image under low light. To me personally, I think light is never an issue because we are using a 96 LED light right here, and this light is not even on maximum, it's on low. I can go much higher and you're not going to be able to see anything on the board. You're going to see a white board if you put this up to the max. So light is never an issue. Light is not a concern, even though the sensor can handle low light, but light personally is not a big deal unless you are not using a 96 LED light like the one I'm showing you now. Then you can still get a good image with low light. The nice thing about a big sensor also is dynamic range. Bigger sensor means better dynamic range, and dynamic range is a big deal. Let's say you are looking at a board under the microscope, or maybe a coin, or whatever the case may be. You have a very bright and a very dark area on the board. The light area will actually wash out the details. A camera with better dynamic range will give you more details. Take a look at this image. Look at the sky on image 1 on the left and the sky on image 2 on the right. You can see more details on image 2 because the camera used to take a picture on image 2 has a better dynamic range. So you are able to see the clouds on the right, but you're not able to see, or barely can see, the clouds on the left. I can explain dynamic range to you all day, but if you do not see an example, you're not going to know what dynamic range is or what it does. And that is the advantage of having a bigger sensor. So without wasting any time, let's take the old one out and we're going to put the new one in and see how it does. I did not try version 2 of the microscope yet, but I was sent a sample of version 2, the bigger sensor, and I approved it. It was amazing, but the final product is different. Everything is color calibrated, the settings, quality check, the build. We're gonna start by taking the LED light out. Let's turn it off. On the lens that I have, I attached a barrel lens because a barrel lens allows me to raise the microscope up higher. If I do not have a barrel lens, I will have to get the microscope all the way down, and maybe I have less room to work under the microscope. So what I do is I attach a 0.5 barrel lens and I'm able to raise up the microscope higher and have a lot of room to work under. A bigger sensor will also allow you to raise up the microscope higher. You're going to be able to see more under a bigger sensor. So let's put the barrel lens on the side, and I'm going to disconnect power. Disconnect. I have a mouse connected to the microscope. The package comes with 2 Barlow lenses. It comes with the lens, the 180x lens, the camera, and the ring adapter. And I'll tell you what the ring adapter is. And a lot of customers or a lot of viewers, they ask, why don't you carry that stand and sell everything as a package? We are working on it. We are working on carrying that stand. But the one reason that we do not carry this stand as of now is we did contact the factory. The stand is heavy. It's very heavy. And shipping is expensive. And then we're going to have to ship it to you. And we're going to have to charge you for shipping to ship that stand to you. So basically you are paying twice for shipping. One time is for us to get that stand to our shop. We're going to have to add that cost onto the whole package and the cost to ship the stand to you. Right now we are working on a way to get the stand maybe from Amscope. Maybe we can make a deal with Amscope. Amscope are local in California. Maybe we can get those stands from them and then we sell everything as a package. But In the meantime, you're gonna have to buy this stand from Amscope. I'll put a link down in the description. You can buy it off eBay or off Amazon, whatever you want, or you can buy it directly from Amscope. As soon as we are able to get this stand in the shop, a feasible way to get that stand in the shop, then we're gonna sell everything as one package. But for the time being, it's very heavy and it's not making sense to carry that stand. To use the Amscope stand, you need that ring. Without that ring, the microscope is gonna fall right down. There's nothing to hold the lens. And the way we hold that camera and lens is by attaching that ring onto the Amscope stand, and then the lens will fit right through. And the reason we have that screw here, I added that screw, is so this adapter does not spin around inside the holder. Once the screw is in, then everything is like one piece. We attach the lens to the camera, we put the camera in, and that's it. So let's go ahead and attach version 2 of the microscope. I'm excited because I have not tried it yet. I have not tried the final version of this microscope. It's been a lot of going back and forth with the factory of how we want it done, and if we approve the image, if we approve colors, if we approve sharpness, quality check. Every microscope has been quality checked down to the bones. The camera, the lenses, Barlow lenses, the 96 LED ring light, everything. And the package looks something like this. You have the camera, you have 2 Barlow lenses, you have the 180X lens, you have the ring adapter, and actually the only thing that's not part of the package is the 96 ring light. This you can buy separately from our site. You can just add it to be part of the package. The reason we do not sell it as part of the package is what if you already have one and you do not want this to be part of the package. Let me show you what's inside the box for the ring light, the 96 LED ring light, and I have a video specifically showing the capability of this light, and I compared it with the more expensive Amscope light, and I showed you how this light beats the Amscope light. Watch the video. I'll link it down below in the description. But the box comes with the 96 LED light. It comes with the controller box. We can control brightness from here, the on-off switch, and you have the power cable. That's what's inside the 96 LED light. And like I said, you can buy this light separately from our site. Let me put it on the side. We already have a similar ring light right here, so we can use the one that we have. I already have it connected. We do not have to take that one out of the box. And we have a 0.5x Barlow lens. And look at the way this has been packaged for us. Everything is packaged in an amazing way to ensure that we receive every product in the perfect condition. And that's what I mean by quality check. That's the 0.5x Barlow lens. I'll show you how it works. For now, let me put it inside the box. And we have the 0.75x Barlow lens. And we have the 180x lens. And this lens is heavy. You can feel the quality on the lens. It's not plastic, it's metal. And it's gold. You have a cover from the top and a cover from the bottom. This side will connect to the camera, and then we can take out the cap from the bottom and we will be able to see our image. So let's connect this lens with the camera, and we're not going to use the ring adapter because we already have one. Let's put it on the side. All right, and if you look at the package, the camera, the cables, the adapter, and you also have a mouse. And the camera has been specifically made black based on our request. Version 1 is blue, version 2 is black. So let's take out the camera. I cannot wait. The quality on that thing. This is not plastic, it's metal. Okay? Look at the build quality on this. Wow, you can feel it. You can tell. So let's take out the cap from right here. I mean, if we... All right, I just want you to hear. Do not use it as a hammer, but I want you to hear the quality on the bodies of the lens and camera. We're going to attach the lens and just look at this monster. Look at this beauty. Look at this. Amazing. Amazing. And now we're gonna remove the cap from the bottom. Slide it in. Almost there. And I have a 90-degree HDMI adapter. I like to use the 90-degree one. If you do not have one, you can just log into eBay and buy one. If we do carry it, I'll post it on our site. But the reason I like it is because the cable does not have to be going up like this. It just goes horizontally. Okay, we're gonna attach it right over here. Like this. And now we're gonna switch over to the microscope input. I did not plug the power cable into the microscope, but let's go ahead and do it now. The cable is in. It will take a few seconds to boot up. And you are greeted with the NorthridgeFix version 2 logo. And there you go. The first thing I want you to do before using the microscope is plug the mouse in. If it's not already plugged in, right click to access the menu. And we're gonna do a few things in this menu. Let me show you why. Let me exit the menu. I want you to notice what happens when I make my ring light brighter or darker. It's not going brighter or darker because we have auto exposure. The camera is trying to fix the light by itself. So I have my ring light on maximum, but we're not seeing that increase in light because we have auto exposure. The camera maintains auto exposure so you can see all the details on the board. But sometimes I like to do things manual. Let's right click and we're gonna turn auto exposure off from right here. When we turn auto exposure off, just go down to the exposure menu and click once. Okay, or move it a little bit left or a little bit to the right so it can take effect. And with the scroll wheel, you can keep it at around 70. By default, it's 72 or 75, but just keep it at 70. I found that number to be perfect. It doesn't make a difference if you go up to 71, 72, 73, but in that range. So now auto exposure is off. And now I can make my image brighter or darker via the ring light. Okay, let's keep it around here. And currently we are looking at a Benz key fob, at the coil of a Benz key fob. I mean, we can already see the details on that coil. Look at this. We can see every little wire that's wrapped around. That's awesome. We did not even test the microscope, but we can already tell how great that sensor is going to be. Now, as far as the other settings, let me go over them quick. The first thing on the top, that thing that looks like a pause, it actually freezes the image. Let's say you want to freeze the image. You can press on it. And now, even if I move that fob, I take it out, the image is frozen on the screen. It could be useful at times. Maybe a customer comes in, he brings in a board, I want to take the model number, I go under the microscope, I freeze the image, I go back to him and I give him back the board. I have that image here. But that's only freezing, it's not saving. Let's unfreeze and go back to that coil. And now you have the taking a picture icon. You need to have a USB flash drive connected to the camera. And you connect the flash drive or your hard drive on top here, and then you can take a picture. You can also take a video by pressing on the video. People ask me, how do you record the video? I do not record the video by plugging a flash drive or a hard drive onto the camera. I do it via OBS. So if you want to take a video on a flash drive or a hard drive, just click on that camera icon. And right next to it is auto white balance. We do not need to worry about that one. And here we have settings. When you click on settings, you can specify how you want to save your images or your videos. I do not use that feature because I broadcast directly to OBS. And then you have a file manager to just browse your drive if you have any. And then you have an amazingly awesome feature. This one here, if you click on it, it puts a window down on the bottom right. It zooms in even more. It's like a digital zoom. So anywhere you move the cursor, it's giving you a view, a zoomed in view of an already magnified coil that we are looking at here. I mean, that's a microscope. We are looking at a microscopic image, but still you get an even more magnified image on the corner here. Maybe sometimes you want to see what's going on in that corner and you do not want to adjust your lens. So with the mouse, you just click on this icon here, and then you get a zoomed in image on the bottom right. So I can zoom into any part of that coil and see what's going on. Digital zoom. Let's uncheck. And right next to it is auto exposure, but I turned it off because I want to have control over light, how much light I want to expose the board to by using my ring light. And if you look down here, brightness, you do not need to worry about brightness. Keep it at 40. Exposure, like I said, around 70, 75 is good. Gain, I do not see a reason why you want to play with gain, but let's put gain all the way up. You can click on gain, and then with the scroll wheel, you can go up or down. I do not have any use for gain. Maybe if you do not have a ring light or you do not have enough light, you can bump up gain a little bit, and it's gonna brighten the image. But you have to remember, the more gain, the more noise on the image. I always keep it at 0. I do not use it. The ring light that we have is more than sufficient to provide enough light. I'm actually on maybe level 1 or 2 on the ring light. If I go all the way, then the image will be washed out because the ring light is so powerful. So we're only using like number 1 or 2 on the ring light. And then if you find the need to adjust your greens, reds, or blues, you can do it from here, but keep it as is because it's already calibrated. And then you have saturation. Saturation is how colorful you want the board to be. Let's try to go up on saturation. By default, it's at 128, and I do not see a reason why you would want to bump this up. It's already calibrated. Saturation by default is at 128. It's already calibrated. It's perfect. But if you want to add more colors to your board, maybe you want the green to be greener, you want the yellow to be yellower, the blue to be bluer, then you can actually bump up saturation by clicking on the bar, and then with your scroll wheel, you can go up. I mean, look at this. I just bumped it. Let me go all the way up to see how far it goes. So the image is saturated and we're still not all the way up. Why would you want to view a board with that much saturation? Maybe some people, they have issues with their eyes. They're not able to see much colors, so they may want to bump up saturation. The option is there, but you can keep it at 128. Or maybe you like to see more colors on the board. By all means, you can click on saturation and do as you see fit, but let's keep it at around, maybe it was at 128. Okay, we can keep it at 130. Maybe we can bump it up some more. And then we have contrast. I love contrast, but too much contrast can create shadows. Let's see. We have the coil here, and currently contrast is at 50. Let's click on contrast, and then with the scroll wheel, bump up contrast, and you can see that the image got sharper. Let's focus on this component here. And then maybe we can bump contrast to its max. Look at this. Look at the image. Deeper colors, sharper. Letters are more pronounced. And if we tilt the board, just look at the pads. Look at the golden pads. You're going to see a lot of contrast between dark and light. Like, for example, look at the pad. You can see the texture of the pad, and the texture is made out of a lot of brights and a lot of darks, and that's why it looks so popping out. But that's too much contrast to my liking. Let's go back to maybe 60. I feel that 60 is a good number. You can keep it at 50. The difference is minimal. If you go down 0 on contrast, then watch how the image is gonna get washed out. Every feature that you see in here is built inside that camera. You have full control on how you want the image to appear. So let's go back to maybe 50 or 60%. Maybe we can bump it up to 60%. Like this. I love it. And then moving along, we have sharpness. Currently we have sharpness at 15. By default, I must have bumped this up by mistake because by default, it's at 4. You can go up to 6 or 7. I think 7 is a good number. If you feel like sharpness is too high, you can always bring it down. But 7 is a good number. 6 or 7 is a good number. And just look at the quality of the image. Look at the texture of that motherboard. Let me zoom in a bit. I mean, look at the texture of that pad. You can see every grain on that motherboard. You can see every grain on that trace, on the pad. Look at the details here. Look at the details here on the board. One thing you have to remember is depth of field. The more you are zoomed in, the less focus you will get. Let's zoom in all the way. Let me show you. And that holds true with any camera. Now we are focused on that component, right? Make the light brighter. Now I'm zoomed in all the way, right? Depth of field. Anytime you are zoomed in all the way to a component, you're gonna lose focus on the surrounding. You're gonna only be focused at that specific height or that specific component. Anything that does not match the height of this component will be out of focus. That's the limitations of any lens, whether it's a camera lens, a professional camera lens, a microscope. And that's why you do not want to go and buy large lenses that can zoom in 400x, 500x, 1000x, because all you're going to be able to see with that big, large zoom lens is only one tiny area of that component. So the more you are zoomed out, the more focus you get on the overall image that you are looking at. We're gonna zoom out, and to zoom out, you turn that dial on the lens counterclockwise. Let's do it all the way and look at the screen. We are zooming out, but when you zoom out, you have to focus the lens, and to focus the lens, we have to adjust the microscope up or down. Zoom works internally within the lens. It gets the glass close to each other or far away from each other, and the focus knob, it gets the whole microscope up or down. I can either do it like this, but you're not accurate when you do it like this because you may push up a bit more than what you need, and that's why you have this precise knob here. So we adjust up or down precisely, and now we are in focus. We're in focus not only on the component, but basically on the whole board. As long as all the components are level, or there's only a small difference in height between the components, then you should see everything in focus. Let's go under the microscope so I can show you what I'm talking about. And you see, now we see the whole board in focus. And just look at the details on this camera, on this sensor. Now, let's say I want to tilt the board. I want to look at the side. Now, when we tilt the board, we are changing the height of the components. So we have to adjust the focus. Just like that. Just a tiny bit with the knob. Just a tiny bit with the knob. You do not need to keep twisting. Just a tiny bit. And that's one of the differences I found with having a big sensor. We no longer have to keep twisting the focus knob. We only do it a little bit and it goes in focus. If we lay the board flat down on the board, now the height is not the same. We have to focus. And just a tiny twist with the knob and we are in focus. Let's go under the microscope so I can show you. If we go up like this, the height is different. Just a tiny bit with the knob and you are back in focus. Maybe you want to have more light. You can adjust your light. Okay. If you have the board down, now light is reflecting on those pads and going up to the lens. So you have to bring down your light. If you shine light on the side, then you're not going to have any reflections because the light will reflect down and bounce in the same angle the light entered. So you can get away with having a lot of light when the board is tilted, but when you have it flat down, then you're going to have a lot of shiny surfaces, a lot of shiny objects. So you bring down the light, and now we can focus with the knob and just look at the details on that camera, on that microscope. And then we have HDR. What's HDR? High dynamic range. I do not like to tamper with HDR because it can create an unnatural image. If you do not know what HDR is, you can go online, Google it, and look at some examples online at images. Basically what HDR does, let's say you are trying to take an image of somebody at noontime. The sun is all the way up. The sky is very bright. When you try to expose your camera on that person, what's going to end up happening is the sky will be washed out. The sky will be very bright and that person will have the proper exposure. Or you can expose to the sky, you can focus on the sky, you're going to get more details on the clouds or on the sky, but that person will be very dark. HDR will expose the sky properly. It will expose the subject properly. It will mix both images, and then it will give you the best of both worlds. But in return, you get somehow of an unnatural image. Just go online, Google HDR, and look at some images. You can also check your phone. You probably have an HDR feature or an HDR plus feature where you can try it. You can put the HDR on and go on a sunny day, try to take a picture of anything and see how the HDR photo will come out to be. So that's HDR. So keep HDR the same. If you want to tamper with it, you want to change it, by all means, you can do so. Right under HDR, we have zoom. My God, was there anything left out in this camera? We already have optical zoom. A lot of people think that that's a digital camera. You have an optical lens. That's an optical lens. That's not a digital lens. When you are zooming in via this lens optically, not digitally. When you zoom in digitally, you will lose quality as you zoom in. But when you zoom in via a lens, you're not losing any quality. You're still getting that same sharpness without losing any quality. So that's an optical lens. But you also have a digital zoom. And that's what the zoom is about. Look at this. Wow. Let's see how that zoom feature works. It's digital zoom. It's not optical zoom. Okay? Look at this. Look at this. I'm zooming in, and honestly, I'm not seeing any loss in quality. That's digital zoom right there. We are zoomed in right now. What? 2x. Let's zoom in. That's all digital zoom, and now we are starting to see noise because it's digital zoom. But man, you can combine digital zoom with optical zoom to get even more out of your microscope. What if we zoom in optically now? Let's zoom in optically on top of the digital zoom. Let's see what happens. I'm not zoomed in all the way, and I'm not even close to zooming in all the way, not optically or digitally. But let's try it. Let's see how far we can zoom in with maximum optical and maximum digital. We're gonna have a problem with depth of field, but let's do it. And we're gonna have to supply more light because the more you zoom in, the more light you need. Okay, I'm still not zoomed in all the way. I mean, that's a capacitor. That's the letter E. I'll show you the letter E zoomed out when we're done. You cannot see this E by the naked eye. So now we are zoomed in all the way optically. And now you're gonna notice a lot of shake because you are zoomed in a lot. But I'm still not zoomed in all the way digitally. So let's do it. Digital, 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 digital. I mean, how much zoom is that? I think we have to multiply 180 by whatever zoom factor we have here, I think. I think that's how it works. So you have over 1000x zoom. That's digital and optical. But of course, you're going to introduce noise when you zoom in digitally. And right now we are zoomed in a lot. But that feature is still useful. I mean, I can see a lot of details, even though we have noise because of the digital zoom. But I mean, nobody's going to use full optical zoom and full digital zoom at once. That's just crazy. But you have the capability. You can combine digital with optical, which is insane. One thing I want to do is I want to show you that when we get rid of digital zoom and just keep optical zoom, how we maintain the quality of the image. Right now we are seeing nothing but the board itself, but I just want you to see the details on this microscope. I mean, just imagine you are working on this component. You want to maybe solder one pin on that component. Look at how detailed that image is. I can touch up on this pin, I can touch up on that pin, I can touch up on this pin, I can touch up on this one. You can easily swap components because everything is in focus, everything is high quality, and that's awesome, amazing. And to be honest, I think it's gonna be very hard to beat the quality of the scope. Let me finish off with the menu so we can close it. Finally, we have mirror. Let's say you have a monitor and your monitor is flipped the other way around. You can actually mirror that image. You can flip it. We can flip the image. Maybe your screen is upside down or your screen is vertical or whatever the case may be. You can flip the image. You can do a mirror on the image. So one of them flips vertically and the other one flips horizontally. Okay, flip and mirror. And then you have black and white. Maybe sometimes a special scenario requires that you have black and white so you can differentiate between whatever you are looking at. But in our case, black and white is not useful, but it's there. And then you have the option for 50 hertz, 60 hertz. Enable that. Maybe if you see flickering on your monitor, maybe the type of monitor that you are using is not communicating properly with the camera, you can enable that feature and it will fix any flickering if you have it. We do not have any flickering here, and I never had to enable that feature in my life. And then finally you have WDR, wide dynamic range. If you are looking at an image under the microscope where you have a very contrasty area on the board, maybe you have a lot of brights and a lot of darks on the board, like I mentioned, you're gonna lose some details in the bright areas of the board or maybe on the dark areas of the board. You can enable WDR and it's gonna give you more details, but it comes at a cost where, because of the way it processes the image, there may be a slight delay between the camera and the screen. At least that's what I know working on version 1 of the camera. I did not try that option on version 2, but we can try it now. Enable WDR, and let's see, are we gonna have any delay? No, none. Wow, wow. Version 1 of the microscope, if you enable WDR so you can get more details in a contrasty scenario where you have a lot of brights and a lot of darks on whatever you are looking for, what happens is there's like a slight delay between the camera and the screen. So if I move the board, after maybe 20 milliseconds or 50 milliseconds or whatever the case may be, the image will move on the screen. It's noticeable and it bothered me. I called the factory and I asked them, why is there a delay between the camera and the screen when WDR is enabled? And they said because of the processing of the image. The camera is processing the image so it can give you more details, but the cost is a slight delay. But it's not in version 2 of the microscope. I have WDR on and look at this. Everything is in real time. Wow, amazing, amazing. I love it. A lot of improvements in version 2 and you have everything inside that camera. You can control every little bit of the image in this camera. So it's 7 o'clock right now. We close at 6, but I just wanted to finish this video so I can upload it tonight. A lot of you are waiting for that microscope and we have over 289 people waiting on version 2 of the microscope. And if you are waiting to buy it, we're gonna notify you today. You're gonna receive an email that we got it, because on our site, if a product is out of stock, you can click notify me when that item is back in stock. And when the item is back in stock, we click a button and you all get an email that the item is back in stock. So the microscope is in stock. And more good news, we also received the grinding pen version 2. We've been working on those for the past, I would say, 2 months. We finally got them. I will go over this in a separate video and show you the difference between version 2 and version 1. Version 1 is still an amazing pen, but version 2 is improved in some ways. We have pad strips number 3. They are back in stock. Pad strips number 2 are back in stock. And pad strips number 4 are back in stock, but they are still inside the packages. We did not open half the packages that we got today. And we have the precision needle probes. We received a large batch today, a very popular item. And if you are new to our channel, you have not purchased anything from us before, you can log in to NorthridgeFix.com, click on shop, and you will be able to buy all your tools from there. The Microscope Bundle, whatever tools I mentioned today. We are a distributor for the Flux. We have solder, we have soldering irons, we have hot air stations, we have power supplies. Everything is in stock. Add whatever you need to the shopping cart. And almost always we ship out the items same day. So that's it. We're going to end the video right here. Let me know if you have any questions. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll do something else in the next video.